You know, lately I've come to realize that we're living in a world that we are constantly in anger. We no longer are joyful. We no longer are happy with our life. And the truth is that we can't even joke with each other anymore. And why are we like that? Because the truth is that we are being so influenced by social media. And look, I use social media, and it's a good way to get a message across. It's a good way to keep in touch with my friends, with my family, with my children. But the thing is that unless we are very cognizant of the fact that social media wants to control our lives, unless we're cognizant that we are allowing, who are we allowing to influence? Who are we allowing to give us the wisdom that we so badly desire and that we so badly need if we are to live a happy life? Well, television programs are where we're getting the source of our wisdom from. Bloggers, advertisers, so-called influencers. But if you really stop for a minute to realize something, guess what every single one of those people that we're gathering our wisdom from want? They want our money. They have no interest in our happiness, in our joy. They care that we consume more of their product. They care that we buy more because at the end of the day, our consumption equals their reward. But see, I lived like that for a long, long time. And I tried to find happiness in that next car. I tried to find happiness in that next women. I try to find happiness in that next mansion, that jet. And at the end of the day, at the age of 22, as I wrote recently in a blog, I wrote, you know, I'm 22 years old. I date the most beautiful women in America. I make $1 million plus $3 million a month. I have the most amazing cars, mansions, jets, and I want to die every day. Well, today I don't have any of that, even though I do live a good life. And I enjoy the life that I worked so hard for. But today, you know, my joy does not come from any of the things I have. I know what it is to lose it all. I know what it is to have $60 million one day and an hour later not have $1 to buy a candy bar so that you can temper the hunger from the horrible food that you're given in a county jail. But it wasn't until that I began to take the focus off of me. Because see, this is the problem. This is why we are so influenced by this media, because they know just exactly how to focus on us, on how to focus on what is important to me, what I want to know, what I want to hear, what I want to read. And listen, God forbid that we find another source of information that contradicts what we want to hear, what we want to affirm about our lives. We just tune it off. And of course, or worse yet, we call it the enemy. You know, he is the enemy. That is the enemy. You're either for me or you're the enemy. No longer, as I was growing up, we would have dialogue. And it was great to engage in dialogue with others that thought differently from us. But nowhere did that difference create a big separation amongst us. But it does today. Because no longer is what is about me now. I mean, what is about others. It's what is important for me. I don't care how other people feel. I don't care if other people die. As long as I feed my hunger. I feed my truth. Well, there's a truth that's above all ours. You know, I don't preach in this channel. But I use a lot of the Bible to talk about it because he has a lot of morals and he has a lot of really genuine truth. And then again, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, Jewish, Jehovah's Witness, Adventist, whatever religion, we all seek for a higher power. We all seek to serve a bigger God. And we are all created by that God. That is for sure. Every single human being. And you know what's really interesting about that God that created us all, brothers and sisters? He doesn't want our money. He doesn't need our money. He wants to give us a wisdom that would help us to become who we were created to become. And sometimes that wisdom tells us that what we're doing is wrong. But because we live in a culture that's not what we want to hear. I want you to tell me what I want to hear. If I don't believe in the vaccine, I want to hear that you don't believe in the vaccine. And I'm going to gravitate to a channel, to a blog, to a medium, to an influencer that says, don't take the vaccine. And if I believe in the vaccine, that's exactly what I'm going to do. No longer would I sit down and look at both sides and decide, hey, what is really the best for me? Or more important, what is the best for others? Until the day that we start thinking about the joy of others above our joy, we'll never be happy. Trust me. As long as the world revolved around Jorge Valdes, as long as I was surrounded by yes people, people that told me how wonderful I was, people that told me how great I was, how powerful I was, how beautiful the clothes I had, no matter how horrible I did or whatever horror I did, they still told me that I was the greatest. And see, those people fed that hunger where the world revolved around me. But I thank God in his infinite wisdom that he allowed me to get arrested and to go to jail where the world no longer revolved around me. And the world now began to revolve around others. And when I started to think about others above me, it was amazing. I started to find happiness, joy, meaning for my life. And where did I find that? I found it as I read the Bible. Not as a religious book, but as a book of morals. As a book that says, hey, if someone hits you, turn the other cheek. That's hard for me to do. You know, forget the debt of others. Help everyone that you can. No greater love has a human being than he who lays his life for his brother. Think about that. Don't steal. Don't kill. Don't have sex with your neighbor's wife. Be honest. Be a person of integrity. You know, integrity comes from the Latin word integer, which means the whole person. So be a person that is complete, nothing lacking. Instead of being a person that the world revolves around you and then only half of the population or less believes like you do. Then the other half doesn't. And then are they now the enemy? No, it's not. And as long as we allow social media and the influencers to control what we think and what we buy and what we think is going to make us happy and what we think is going to fill that emptiness that's within all of us, we're never going to be happy. I promise you. I'll bet you anything. You know, we live in a world that people are fascinated with narcos. People are fascinated with mafia stories. Think about that. I look at some of these channels of some of the people, and they're good people. Don't get me wrong. But they have thousands and thousands of followers. Why? Hundreds of thousands. Because people want to hear mafia story. People want to hear narco story. If I was to just tell stories about my life in the Medellin Cartel, I'd have 100,000 people. But that's not what I want to do. Because it means nothing for me to tell you what I did in the cartel and what we did. Yeah, I'll share some of the stories, but I only share them in the context of a bigger principle. Not just to tell you about a story, not to tell you about a load we brought in, not to tell you about a time when I had police carry their suitcases full of cocaine into my airplane. No, none of that is going to help you or help anybody. The beauty about the position that I am is twofold. I was told I could die any day, number one. And number two, that I think a lot about my legacy. When the pages of history are written, will history remember me because I told a narco story? Or will history remember me because I made a difference in your life? In the many emails of people in desperate situations, in the 64,000 books that we have sent so far, and the many men, women, guards, chaplains, detention officers that read the book and finds meaning to their life and impacts their life. I just got an email from a young man at a detention center that was considering suicide, but yet read my book, and it gave him tremendous peace. And I can tell you thousands and thousands of stories. But see, those are not the stories that are going to fascinate and grow on social media. But because I am self-made, because I live a great life. Listen, I drive a brand new Rolls Royce, and I live in a multi-million-dollar house. I lack nothing. I have no debt. So I don't need to have a influence. I don't need to become an influencer. I don't need to have 100,000 people in my YouTube channel, subscribers, or 1 million, so that I will get royalties off of that. Every royalty I get, every speaking fee that I charge, everything that I do that generates any income of my story goes to buy books to send to prisoners in jail. Not for my lifestyle. I couldn't care less. I would never take a dollar. I don't want anyone out there saying, hey, George made millions selling cocaine. Now he's making millions selling Jesus. I'm not selling Jesus either. I'm not selling religion. What I tell you is what has happened in my life. And like I tell people, listen, if the shoe fits, wear it. Not just buy yourself another damn pair of shoes. So I don't care how many subscribers I have. I have so many people constantly tell me, listen, you got such a great message. You got 2,000 subscribers. I can give you 100,000. I couldn't care less. If God wants me to have 100,000, he'll bring them. But at the end of the day, if I only have 5 and I make a difference in those 5 people's lives, that means something to me. See, history will remember me for the many lives that I will impact. He ain't going to remember me because I was a founding member of the group that became the Medellin Drug Cartel. He won't remember me because I knew Pablo Escobar. I can tell you stories about Pablo, and people are fascinated with Pablo. He was a scumbag. He was as low as any human being can be, and he was not the most powerful. He was not the wealthier. He was not a billionaire. Get that right. I'm telling you now. And if anyone from my era that knew him will speak to you, they will tell you. I don't care to tell you about Pablo Escobar. I'll tell you the experience with Pablo Escobar, where he put a contract in my life because he got the wrong information, but how ended that contract by me reminding him that I don't lie. Because something that had happened before where I chose not to lie. See? So I'll tell you stories about that, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you mob stories or drug lord stories. That doesn't, it might get a lot of people. But at the end of the day, let me ask you this. At the end of the day, if I tell you a story about how on my birthday I chose to bring in 3 loads, 2 hours apart, 800 kilos apiece, 2,400 kilos, in one day, over $5 million profit. If I tell you that story, it's going to do something for you, it's going to entertain you. But there's tons of entertainment out there you can find. If you come to my channel, it's because you're going to hear stories that's going to help you to live a better life and to become successful. And to learn from the mistakes that I have made. And to learn from the challenges I have made. And to create the same mindset that I have where I overcame tortures. Where I overcame unbelievable difficulties in my life. How I raised 6 children to be so successful when I was in prison for many years of their life. How today I have a son who's a millionaire who almost died of an overdose at the age of 15. Those are the stories I want to tell you. Those are the stories that will help you to become a better father, help you to become a better mother, a better leader, to help you grow your business, in how I treated my people. I can tell you principles about win-win, and that'll help you to grow your business if you implement those principles. Or tell you about the code. It might bring difficulties to your life at times, but it will bring clarity. Or tell you about coming clean. How holding secrets keeps you in bondage. And how coming clean liberates you. And we all want to be liberated. Problem is, we don't tell people who we are. Why? Because we're afraid. We're so afraid of being judged and then condemned. You know what? But the minute that you tell the world who you are, and the world knows that you're transparent, you'll live a happy life. I promise you that. Not because I read it in a book, but because I implemented it and I saw it in my own life. Listen, when I changed my life, it was difficult. I went through hell for a long time. See, the problem is, like the old saying, hey, you want to be born again, but you don't want to die. See, the interesting is before a seed becomes a wonderful tree or flower, it dies first. And we got to die to our old self. And we got to be different. We got to say enough is enough. And we got to change. And there might not be no clarity as how you change. For me, I had no clue. It just meant if I'm going north, I'm going to go south. East, I'm going to go west. See, that's how we change our lives. So, as we look at this society we live in, where everyone's angry, where we can't even tell a joke, where no longer can I look at a woman that looks so elegant and tell her that. Or a woman that's got beautiful eyes and tell her she's got beautiful eyes as a compliment. I can't do that anymore. For being afraid that it might be misconstrued as some type of, invasion or whatever. I come from a different era. We were respectful, but we also paid compliments. See, the greatest joy in my life, greatest times of my life was me when I came from Cuba. My father, my mother, my brother, my sister. On Friday, my mom would cook, and we had a little Coleman stove that my brother and I worked really hard to save up money. So she would cook, and then she would just store that in the refrigerator. And Saturday, we would go on a road trip. We had no money to stay at a hotel, so we slept in the car. We had no money to go to restaurants, but we ate the food that she took. And we saw America that way. And we had the biggest blast. And we didn't have cell phones or tablets in the back of the car to entertain ourselves. We had each other to talk to. The car didn't even have music, because back then all they had was FM radio. And then, it goes from in and out. So we didn't care about the radio. But we did care about talking about each other, about the challenges that we faced, how we were going to be better, how we were going to overcome the lack of money, because my father refused to call it poverty. He said, we're not poor, we just don't have any money. Think about that mindset. So I never thought I was poor. I just thought I didn't have any money. So if I worked very, very hard, I would make money. And then I no longer had to live the way I was living. I could buy things. The problem is when I lost sense of all that. You know, like my brother, when he wrote me that song, The Hungry Years by Neil Sedaka. You know, we climbed to the top. You know, we're chasing rainbows. And what we were looking for just wasn't there. We missed the hungry years when we had each other. So look back at your life. Focus on the little things that bring joy to your life. Spend an evening playing Monopoly with your children. It costs $5 to buy a Monopoly board. You know, spend go on the road and put away all the cell phones. And for fathers and mothers, don't look at your cell phone after 5 o'clock. You don't need to. There's nothing that you need to do. There's nothing in that phone that you need to do to take away from the little time that you're going to have with your children that are going to leave. We only have our children on borrowed time. So don't look at the phone. Turn it off. I used to be on the phone 24 hours a day. You know, when I moved to Mexico, I got a cell phone detox. I didn't have a cell phone for a year. My children were like, Dad, you got to have a cell phone. What if we need to get a hold of you? What if there's an emergency? I said, I'm in Mexico. You're in Florida or Georgia. Call 911. You know, and then let me know later on when I get home. You know, it's so difficult to do that. But one day, when I almost lost my marriage, I chose that I was not going to use that phone after 5 o'clock. And that I did not need to receive calls from anybody but my children that work during the day. Yeah, I take those calls. Because there's nothing more important for me to get a call from my children. See, when I was in the jungles of Colombia or anywhere, I made sure that I had a satellite phone. You know why? I needed to call my mother every day of my life. I could have been the most powerful man anywhere, made millions. I needed to call my mother and to make sure that she was okay and to tell her I was okay and to just hear her voice and talk, how I miss her. And my father, the wisest man that I ever knew that did not even go to 6th grade. The man that taught me that by the age of 10, if I had read the greatest biographies in history, I will remember the principle that made those human beings great. A man that read unbelievable, never left the United States, never. But yeah, he went to Colombia a few times with me, but you know what? He knew about every country in the world because he read unceasingly. We don't read anymore because we want a quick fix. So Twitter will give you a quick thing about the news. So when you see the social media, a lot of it gets posted by my wife. And the message that I give you is what comes from my heart. Because I love people. And I don't want no one to suffer what I suffer. And if I can tell you today, live every day like it's the last day of your life, you know what? I know what it is not to be guaranteed tomorrow. I know what it is to go to bed thinking that we're going to wake up. And did not. I know people that did not. I know great friends of mine that died young, too young. I should have died at the age of 30 with my heart defect. But yet, you know what? I'm alive, 65. And I feel great. And I just saw my cardiologist today and he's just really happy. And when I go in there, I joke. I say, hey, Doc, I made it to another visit. And he laughs. But that's the truth. I consider great joy that I made it to another visit. And I consider great joy that I'm getting ready to cook for my family now. Because it's my way to give to my family. So my brothers, my sisters, don't worry about what people say about you on social media. Take that focus away from you. Don't seek wisdom in Fox or CNN. Don't seek wisdom in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Look for wisdom in He who has nothing to sell you, who loves you, who created you. That's where true wisdom lies. It doesn't lie in those that all they care about is that if I hit like or if I subscribe and they can show that they have more people watching their pages, then they get money. You realize that in my YouTube, I don't even monetize my channel. Not what I care. What I care is about you. And if at the end of the day, I've helped one person not become Jorge Valdes, if at the end of the day, I help one family not lose their father to go to jail, if at the end of the day, I brought meaning and united a family, if at the end of the day, I helped a marriage that was really heartbroken, stay together, if at the end of the day I help one child not to commit suicide, man, I've lived the greatest life on earth. And I can die with 100, 1,000, or 0 subscribers. Couldn't care less. Not my goal. My goal is to help you. My goal is to share my pain, my victories, my challenges, my mindset, which is what allows me to live every day to the greatest and most fulfillment day of my life. So thank you so much for watching the channel, and sharing my message, not because it's going to help me get subscribers, but because somehow you're letting me know that, hey, I'm making a difference in your life. At the end of the day, it's all that matters. You know, I used to tell people that didn't believe in God in prison, if I believe in God and I die and I believe I'm going to go to heaven, and that does not happen, I didn't lose a damn thing. What did I do? I was a better person because I lived trying to please someone greater than me. And then if God doesn't exist, if heaven doesn't exist, then I'd just be fertilized like the rest of us. But what if I don't believe the way I didn't used to believe, and there is a heaven, and there is a God? Man, I miss a lot. You know, if we're diagnosed right now with a cancer, most people will spend their entire fortune and that of their family to add 10, 20, 30 years to their life. But you know what's funny? Every freaking day of our life, we play with eternity. You want to know what eternity is? Get a visual. I'll give you one. Pick up a grain of sand in Florida, move it to California. Walking. Walk back. Pick up another grain in Florida, move it to California. And do all that till you move all the sand from Florida to California. You know what that does? That's only the beginning of eternity. Be blessed.